Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Gender-affirming care for minors. The Supreme Court hands down a ruling seen as a stunning setback to transgender rights.
And it's a hot day today, but it doesn't end here. We're looking at major heat for the next couple of days and then extreme next week. I'll show you why it's lingering.
Returning to prison, lawyers for convicted singer R. Kelly say their client's life is in jeopardy in a North Carolina jail. Prosecutors respond.
We can find a refreshing view right out back there. This is just awesome, especially on a hot day like today. Temperatures soaring into the 90s. Great day to go for a dip in the pool. Just looking at our fountain out front. Looks good right now because it's hot out. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. As tempting as it might be, the fountain is off limits, but definitely jump in the pool or a lake. Yeah, temperatures will feel like triple digits this afternoon because of the humidity. Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at why it's so hot.
And you know, not everybody's afraid of it. Look at this. They're all in their shorts and t-shirts, but look at the flag here as we take a look at Pinehurst Resort and Country Club. It is really moving. So there's a breeze out there right now. And the hope is that, maybe another hour or so, everybody's going to go inside where it is a little bit safer. Our temperatures as we get through the day today are likely to climb on up into the mid-90s, both today and tomorrow. Our normal high is 88. So this is well above normal. Things are a little cooler behind a front that comes through on Thursday. And then we really skyrocket again Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I'm going to show you the high pressure system that builds in that really increases our heat. But this is a look at the rest of the day today. Of course, looking at heat index around 100 now, feeling more like 102 to 104 as we get into the middle of the afternoon. And you just don't want to be outside in that situation. We look ahead to tomorrow. A cold front comes through. That's going to bring us a much better chance for rain tomorrow, especially during the late evening up until around midnight. I'm going to walk you through that on Futurecast because we do have a potential for some severe storms. It's likely to be between 5 and 11. Some localized damage, especially from the foothills northward. Or the Sandhills northward. It does include almost the entire viewing area. And again, we'll take a look at that potential severe risk as tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. A news conference scheduled by a civil rights group with concerns about singer R. Kelly's safety at the federal prison in Butner was canceled this morning. His legal team says his safety is at risk after he was hospitalized in what they call an assassination attempt by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. WRAL's Heidi Kirk was in Butner this morning.
We've learned just within the last hour that press conference here was canceled, but we also know that R. Kelly's attorney is headed here to meet with him in person today. Yesterday, we went through almost 30 pages of court documents filed by his attorney. This document you see here claims there is evidence that officials within the prison system have solicited Mr. Kelly's murder. This document says, quote, "We have evidence that our client's life is being threatened by the very jailers on which he is required to rely for protection." Another document alleges that Kelly was given, quote, "an amount of medicine that could have killed him, leading to an overdose." Then, after being taken to Duke University Hospital, was taken back to prison, despite being told he needed additional surgeries. Now, we reached out to Duke University Hospital to confirm those claims. A spokesperson directed us to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, who said they could not comment on pending legal matters. Now, we also received a copy of the response filed by the prosecutors, which says, quote, "Kelly's motion makes a mockery of the harm suffered by Kelly's victims and flouts this court's previous ruling that this court lacks jurisdiction to entertain Kelly's complaints about the conditions of his confinement." Now, of course, this is a developing story that we'll continue to watch very closely. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News in Butner.
Breaking news as the U.S. Supreme Court deals a major blow to the transgender community and their advocates. In a 6-3 decision, the High Court upheld Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors. Michelle McConaughey is in the WRAL Live Center with what this means, Michelle.
Yeah, Jeff, Tennessee's Attorney General calling this ruling a landmark victory for Tennessee in defense of America's children. So this is what it does. The law bars medical treatments such as puberty blockers and hormones for people under 18 experiencing gender dysmorphia. Tennessee's law was passed back in 2023. It's aimed to encourage minors to, quote, appreciate their sex. The Supreme Court's 3 liberal justices dissented. Since returning to office, President Trump has taken a hardline stance against transgender rights. Trump saying the ban was not unlawful back in February. Providers can be sued and face fines and professional discipline for any violations.
Thanks, Michelle. As early as today, lawmakers in the state Senate could pass a bill regulating the sale of intoxicating cannabis products in North Carolina. The bill would ban the sale of THC products like gummies or vapes or drinks to anyone under the age of 21. It would also limit the amount of THC in those products and require manufacturers to test them. Products would be overseen by the ALE. The measure could face pushback in the House because their bill doesn't go this far.
The United States remains largely on the sidelines of the Israel-Iran conflict for now. But after meeting with his national security team, President Trump is reportedly considering options, including a U.S. struck on Iran. NBC's Garrett Hake reports on the sharp turn of events.
This morning, President Trump weighing a range of options for how the U.S. could respond to Iran, including a possible U.S. military strike, according to multiple current and former administration officials. The president speaking to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu by phone Tuesday and huddling with his national security team in the Situation Room for more than an hour, making no public comment on the crisis afterwards. But earlier, Trump seemed to allude to one possible option, posting, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader of Iran is hiding. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least for now," but adding, "Our patience is wearing thin." The president also demanding Iran's unconditional surrender and claiming we now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. After long pressing Iran to negotiate to end its nuclear program, the president suggested Monday that the window to talk may now be closed.
They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in a mood to negotiate now.
The status of that nuclear program remains an open question. In March, Trump's director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, testifying on Capitol Hill.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
The president asked about those comments Monday.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having.
But Vice President Vance noting the UN nuclear watchdog recently determined Iran is not complying with its nuclear non-proliferation obligations.
If you want safety, part of safety, and I think all Americans want that, is ensuring that the worst people in the world don't have a nuclear bomb.
During last year's campaign, candidate Trump drew a hard line with Iran.
My terms are very easy. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
But also promised to be a peacemaker, especially in the Middle East.
I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III, most importantly, from happening.
Now, as President Trump, he faces a pivotal decision that could require taking one path and abandoning the other.
That was NBC's Garrett Hake reporting. Today is also the deadline set by President Trump for 36 countries to avoid a travel ban. Most of the countries are located in Africa. The president says these countries need to improve their vetting process for travelers, or else their citizens will be barred from entering the U.S. President Trump also says the revised plans need to be implemented within 60 days.
Nippon Steel has finalized its deal to buy 100% of U.S. steel. Under the $14 billion deal, President Trump will be able to veto any decision to idle plants, reduce production or staffing levels. The purchase comes despite the president repeatedly saying that he would allow the deal to go forward only because it was an investment, not an outright purchase of the company. Let's take a look at stocks shortly after noon right now. You see what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is, and this is all with traders wondering when and if the Fed comes back with its decision this afternoon. With interest rates will drop, raise, stay the same. Most experts say they'll stand pat where they are right now, but all the major indices in positive territory this noon.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, we are talking about the Supreme Court again. They rejected Texas's bid to axe federal approval of a nuclear waste storage site in Texas, arguing that the state didn't have the right to bring the challenge in the first place. The facility stores used fuel. The issue was whether the commission correctly allowed a company to store it for 40 years. Texas officials have said the commission would allow waste to be stored at a basin, which is also a source of water for surrounding communities. Texas's Governor Greg Abbott and others are challenging the commission's decision in court.
It's been 12 hours since a tractor trailer overturned on I-95 in Johnson County, spilling part of its load. The driver faces charges for causing the wreck that shut down one lane of traffic. WRAL's Ali Kadlubar shows us the effort to clean the road.
Yes, it's been a mess up there on I-95 since 12:30 this morning. Take a look at this video from Drone 5. You can see equipment picking up pallets of berries and dumping them into a dump truck, a lengthy task needed to lift the 18-wheeler upright. Video from the WRAL breaking news tracker shows what the crash looked like earlier this morning. Highway Patrol says the driver of the tractor trailer crashed into a guardrail and flipped on its side around 12:30. The driver was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Highway Patrol also says the driver was charged with driving under the influence. Luckily, this crash on I-95 didn't cause major congestion, only shutting down one lane as well as the exit into Kenly. We're still working to find out the identity of the driver. Reporting in Kenly, Ali Kadlubar, WRAL News.
Next at noon, another elected official gets detained by ICE. Why a New York mayoral candidate was stopped by immigration.
Also, hot Nintendo Switches, as in stolen, nearly 3,000 of them. Where this happened and why it's a bad deal if you get one.
Plus, at 12:30, the tricky task of balancing work and life during the summer.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
For the second time in less than a week, an elected official has been detained by ICE officers.
You don't have to. I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant. By asking for a judicial warrant? You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant.
New York City Comptroller and candidate for mayor Brad Lander says he had attended immigration hearings for the past 2 weeks with no issue. Lander says he would escort immigrants out of the building and to their families, but something was different this time.
They have shifted the ground, like ripped the ground out from under these people who did everything right, who registered at the border, who showed up for their hearing, only to find that their opportunity to seek asylum and say, I've got a credible fear of persecution, is gone. And if you don't give people clear due process, why would you expect them to show up for their court hearings in the future?
Lander was released from custody 4 hours later. No charges have been filed. The state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in similar situations.
Not everyone is thrilled about the impending nuptials of billionaire and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his fiancée, journalist Lauren Sanchez. People in Venice, Italy, warn the wedding will bring over-tourism and chaos to their homeland. And activists hung a giant No Bezos banner across the city. One protest leader vowed the group would block canals and line the streets with their bodies. The budget for the wedding is rumored to be as high as $10 million. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman says Meta offered top employees signing bonuses of $100 million to switch companies, but so far the efforts have failed. Altman says he respects Meta as a company, but does not think they are great at innovation. The news comes as Zuckerberg has reportedly become frustrated with Meta's AI efforts that he shifted the layout of the company headquarters to put the new team near his office.
An update now on the latest on the push to ban artificial dyes from the foods on our grocery store shelves. Now, 2 major food companies say they are working to phase out those dyes. NBC's Vicki Nguyen has reaction.
Iconic products like Kool-Aid and Jell-O poised for a new look. Whoa, yeah! As the push to ban artificial dyes in U.S. food products gains momentum. Industry giant Kraft Heinz pledging to totally remove artificial dyes from its products by 2027 and replace them with natural versions when possible. The company says nearly 90% of its products are already free of those dyes. Kraft Heinz getting on board after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the government would phase out all artificial dyes from the food supply by the end of next year.
We're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient an additive to school in food that we can legally address.
Kennedy claiming those food colorings are associated with behavioral issues in children. The FDA has not established that link.
I don't think they're good for us, but how bad they are is really not clear. Still, if there's any question about it, they should be out of the food supply.
We just recently went dye-free in our household.
The FDA has already announced a ban on red dye number 3, citing a study that found tumors in rats that consumed a large amount of it. There's no known link to cancer in humans. A 2021 California report also found that artificial coloring was associated with hyperactivity in some children.
I have been slowly but surely trying to cut out dyes out of my kids' foods.
But since products like Kool-Aid and Jell-O still contain large quantities of sugar, no matter what color they are, we had to ask if the makeover is only surface deep.
Is it a small step in the right direction? Or what more should be done?
I see it as a small step in the direction of improving children's health. If we really want to improve children's health, the first thing we need to do is to put restrictions on marketing junk food to kids.
That was Vicki Wynn reporting. General Mills is also making major changes to ingredients in its cereals in the coming years. The cereal maker plans to remove artificial colors from all of its cereal in the U.S. by 2027. The announcement comes after Kraft Heinz said it plans to eliminate synthetic dyes from items by 2027.
The Nintendo 2 Switch has already proven to be a hot item. It didn't take long for thieves to try to capitalize on the demand. Police in Colorado are searching for the thieves who stole nearly 3,000 consoles from a parked semi-truck. That haul was worth more than $1 million. Experts say anyone who ends up with a stolen device won't get their money's worth, though, because players must register a serial number to play the games and get the updates, and Nintendo can make the console non-functional. They can shut you down.
Mm-hmm. We're switching to intense heat and humidity. Oh, it feels so sticky out there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center, and this is dangerous to be outside for a prolonged period of time.
It is. It's going to feel like 103, 104 for this afternoon, right in the middle of the afternoon. That's the time you really want to avoid being outside. I decided to pull up Apex. I was trying to find maybe a place where people were out walking around. There are a few people wandering around down Salem Street, probably just getting to and from the car to wherever it is they were trying to go. It is 89 with a dew point of 70. Now, as our temperatures climb on up to 96 later this afternoon, that's when you'll really feel a bigger difference. Dew point 70, that's still fairly high, but if the dew point were 75 and the high temperature was 95, it would feel a lot worse. And that's really where we're headed for Sunday and into early next week. This is a look at the heat index. It feels like 95 in Durham and Raleigh, 95 in Goldsboro, 93 Fayetteville, 97 in Clinton. That doesn't necessarily put us in the danger zone. It's hot, it's uncomfortable, but later this afternoon, we could climb to, like I said, 103, 104. One of the things that's making it feel a little more comfortable outside is we do have a nice breeze. Now, it's a hot breeze, but a breeze is a breeze, and our winds are gusting 28 in Durham, Raleigh, and Fayetteville, 18 in Clinton, 23 in Goldsboro, 24 in Southern Pines. So that breeze at least is mixing things up out there. We have thunderstorms that are starting to pop up over the mountains and a trough here in the western Piedmont. Those thunderstorms are going to make a run at North Carolina, or I should say our part of North Carolina, and really not have much success. We have a small 20% chance of storms this afternoon. Most of the storms that come off the mountains and head our way will fizzle before they make it here. 96 Raleigh, 95 Durham, 96 Fayetteville. So again, looking at a very hot afternoon. We are proud media partners of Live After 5, and it is going to be hot. I mean, there's no way to really paint too pretty of a picture here. 90 at 7 o'clock, 87 at 9 o'clock. Music starts at around 6 o'clock. But the pro tip here is this is at City Plaza, right there on Fayetteville Street, where the buildings are tall, and there is actually shade there. At least you can find some shade up closer to the building. So if you're headed there, find a shady spot. It'll be okay. Our intense heat really picks up on Sunday. 98 Sunday, 99 Monday, 99 Tuesday, 98 on Wednesday. So it's a big heat wave, biggest heat wave that we've seen, of course, this year. For this afternoon, looking at a heat index of 102, could be 105 for us tomorrow, and then we'll see a very high heat index for next week as well. Here's why. We have a high pressure system that's going to be building into our area. High pressure systems bring sinking air. That sinking air compresses and warms, and this is going to be one of the strongest high pressure systems that we've seen over us this early in the season, possibly as a record. So we'll be watching for that. Monday, you can see most of our viewing area covered in red. So that is major heat risk, especially for those who don't have air conditioning or proper cooling. And then we'll have some pockets of extreme on Tuesday. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to get out of this anytime soon. And the impact of heat is cumulative on your body. Maybe you did fine outside for a couple of days if you work outside, and then, that third day or fourth day, you really, succumb to it. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about Thursday in just a few minutes. We do have a weather alert day for the chance of some severe storms. I'll walk you through Futurecasts coming up.
Flooded streets, a Lee County yard underwater during yesterday's storms. The homeowner shows us the damage, and we look into what the city is doing about the flooding problem. That's coming up at 4.
Banning cell phones. More local school districts are considering limiting or eliminating cell phone use during class. We hear more about the debates happening in several counties at 5 o'clock. Plus, still ahead this noon, seat safety. 5 on your side shares key things to keep in mind when shopping for a child's high chair.
Plus, frugal fun. Trump tariffs threaten to put a damper on summer activities. How local amusement parks are preparing for more guests. Parents have a lot of options when picking a high chair, but how do you know what's safe, easy to clean, and fits your family? 5 on your side's Keely Arthur shows us what to look for.
If this is your first time transitioning your child to solid foods in a high chair, here's a little bit of what to expect.
Eating time is a mess. They throw food left and right. They explode the juice. And I said, okay, I need a chair that is easy to clean, that doesn't give me a battle while I'm opening it.
Not only is it easy to clean, it's a top priority, but so is safety. Consumer Reports says when shopping for a high chair, look for a secure 5-point harness to keep your baby in their seat. Are the straps and seat pads removable and machine washable? And is the tray removable, and does it have a dishwasher safe insert? Look for features that match your needs, like a high chair that's compact or one that folds to save space. And to keep your baby safe, always use the full harness. Keep the chair away from walls or counters to avoid tip overs, and watch out for those older siblings trying to climb on. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
And while clip-on chairs might save space, they are not as safe as the freestanding ones. It's easier than you might think for a child to push off and make the chair fall.
Tariff uncertainty is having an impact on family fun. Some families are opting for frugal fun this summer instead of traveling, but local amusement parks aren't immune to tariffs impacting their bottom line, because everything from the stuffed animals to the games and the cranes, it comes from overseas. Some local parks are adapting their strategies to try to save money.
So typically this warehouse would be half full, but because of the unknown with the tariffs this year, we had to go ahead and pre-purchase pretty much for the entire summer to try to beat the tariffs before they went into effect and try to save that cost so we could keep our prices down for our guests.
And not all parks were able to do that as well. Some owners say they placed orders before tariffs were in place, and they generally arrive at this time of year. But instead of passing the cost on to guests, some businesses plan to absorb that extra cost.
Kids in summer camps, especially those that are outdoors, will be feeling the heat. What you need to do to make sure your children can enjoy summer camp and tolerate the heat.
Summertime sneaking, it's a thing. Some workers resort to leaving work early or calling out sick just to enjoy the sunshine. Coming up, expert advice to help you maintain that work-life balance.
No getting out early for us, though, Jeff. We're here till 1 o'clock. Here are the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
We're preparing for very hot weather today and in the days to come. That can be especially dangerous for kids on this first week of summer camps. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains why parents need to take extra precautions before sending their kids off.
Kids will come here to Crowder County Park throughout the summer to experience nature, and they also may be experiencing extreme heat. We just heard in the weather forecast that the feels like temperature for today is over 100 degrees, so parents will definitely need to send their kids with some water as they head off to summer camp. Data shows younger children have a harder time regulating their body temperature. So here are some ways you can keep them cool. Give them water-rich food like watermelon, berries, and cucumbers. You also need to make sure playground equipment is not overheated. You just heard in the forecast that temperatures are in the 90s this week. When the air temperature is 90 degrees, pavement, slides, and swing sets can get above 130 degrees, and that can be very dangerous for children. There is going to be a lot of humidity this week. You can find out how much that's going to add to the heat on Ask the Meteorologist. You can check that out on WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Apex.
A new report from House Democrats is putting a price tag on President Trump's federal pardons. It claims those pardons and clemency grants could cost more than $1.3 billion. That references payments to victims and the government that defendants would have to pay if convicted. The White House slammed the report, saying the pardons righted the wrongs of political prosecutions.
A 32-year-old man faces numerous charges, including rape of a child, trafficking, and kidnapping. High Point police received a tip that a girl might be living at the home. Officers executed a search warrant and found the 15-year-old girl and the suspect at the home together. She was reported missing from Pennsylvania nearly a year ago. People who live in the neighborhood are unsettled after learning about Joseph Rosamondo's arrest.
It makes you want to get to know your neighbors a little better, just to protect each other and to be on the lookout for stuff like that.
Officers seized child sex abuse material as well as numerous electronic devices. Rosamondo is being held without bond at the Guilford County Jail.
Big change is coming to child welfare in North Carolina. Today, state leaders are in Winston-Salem to launch Path NC. It's a new digital system linking all 100 of our county's social service departments. The goal is to have better tools and real-time information to help protect children and support families across the state. That system was discussed as part of the WRAL documentary Broken Foster Care in North Carolina. The system was one of the options lawmakers were considering to improve what some called a broken system in our state. You can watch Broken in the documentary section of WRAL.com.
We're just days away from the official start to summer. Most workers expect a lighter workload. However, new data suggests a different reality, showing that even during the summer, employees are not powering down. Tanya Powers explains why it's important to maintain work-life balance.
Employees are looking to spend less time behind a desk and more time in the sun this summer. 4 in 5 workers say the ability to achieve work-life balance during the summer would improve their overall well-being. That's according to a recent survey by Dayforce, a global human resources services company.
Americans in particular are very tied to their job. 4 in 5 respondents said they feel pressure to maintain productivity during the summer. So a lot of people feel like they can't disconnect fully.
This leads to summertime sneaking, with nearly half saying they log off or leave work earlier during the summer or take extended lunches to enjoy the warm weather. 40% admit they call in sick to take an extra long weekend or attend social events. And about a third have left work early on a Friday without telling their manager.
I don't think these people are ill-intended. I think they're trying to get the time they need to refresh, but they're having to do it in a way that isn't maybe above board or makes them feel confident that what they want to do will be supported by the managers in the business.
Even when people are out of the office, many still struggle to achieve work-life balance. Several workers report that during vacations, they've missed quality time with family or friends because they chose to work instead. Some have even pretended to be sick while traveling, just so they could stay connected to work, while others admit they are never far from their work phones.
Only 30% of respondents said they completely unplug while on vacation. So people can't really fully take a vacation break while they're away from work.
Experts say prioritizing time to rest and recharge is vital.
When you have a chance to have a respite and get some time away and relax, you're going to come back even stronger in your abilities as an employee and a person.
Look, no summertime sneaking here, although we're keeping a close eye on Jeffrey over there. Some experts say it starts with the culture. Only a third of workers say their employer encourages work-life balance during the summer more often than other times of the year.
I have been known to wander. Heat hinders hunger, the science that explains why we don't eat as much when it's hot outside.
Public participation. Why new signs at national parks are asking visitors to report any information they feel portrays American history negatively. Our team is working to bring you exclusive stories for coverage you'll find only on WRAL. Go to WRAL.com and search only. On a hot day like today, we're giving you a cool view of Lake Gaston. Just looks beautiful out there. But it's going to be a scorcher of an afternoon with highs feeling like they're in the triple digits. You're watching WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
Small signs are popping up at national parks across the country, asking the public to report any negative references to American history they hear. It's part of a directive by President Trump to restore, quote, truth and sanity to American history. Critics call it an attempt to rewrite history, whitewash history, and eliminate the stories of critical contributors to history.
The fact that anyone visiting now who may disagree with the presentation of fact can complain about it, and perhaps their complaints will be actionable, is problematic. It sends a chilling message, I think, to us about who controls history in this country.
The new government intervention comes as federal budget and staffing cuts are reverberating through the National Park Service.
Today marks 2 years since a tragic implosion of the Titan submersible. The Seacraft was transporting 5 people to view the Titanic shipwreck when it happened. The passengers on board included the CEO of OceanGate, which operated the Titan. The implosion, likely caused by a catastrophic structural failure, occurred about 90 minutes into the descent. Dozens of flights to and from the Indonesian resort island of Bali have been canceled or delayed after one of the country's most active volcanoes erupted. Mount Laki-Laki sent a massive ash cloud nearly 7 miles into the air. The eruption prompted experts to issue its highest alert level as authorities monitor the fallout from it. There have not been any reports of casualties.
Report of a swimming spree as hundreds of protesters jumped into Berlin's famed Spree River to prove a point. Why they say it's time to lift a public swimming ban there.
Plus, no parking. Crews retrieve a luxury car midway down Rome's famous Spanish Steps. What the driver attributes to this hysterical situation. Starting Monday, ferry service between Currituck and Knott's Island will be suspended during the week for repairs. The fender system includes the rubber materials installed on terminal pilings to protect boats and pilings while vessels are docking. The fender work will run Monday through Friday, with the route resuming service the weekend of June 28th to 29th. The route will be suspended again on June 30th while the work is completed.
You ever wonder why you don't feel quite as hungry when it's hot outside? There is a scientific reason for that. In the summertime, people are usually more active, so they may not be as hungry. Our bodies don't want to get overheated, so we eat fewer calories. Another factor could be dehydration. When you're dehydrated, your gut starts to slow down and you don't digest food as well. And that in turn can make you nauseous.
A lot of times when we're dehydrated, our sense of thirst is stunted anyway. So if all of a sudden you're really, really thirsty, you're probably very dehydrated. So drinking throughout the day is going to be important.
And if you notice any extreme appetite changes or have any other concerns about it, you want to ask your doctor.
You probably said it before, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Meteorologists use the heat index for this very reason. Meteorologist Chris Michaels explains how our bodies react differently to the heat when it is so sticky outside.
I think everybody knows that our bodies respond differently when the heat is coupled with humidity as opposed to when it's hot and dry out. So sweating is just our way of cooling off through the process of evaporation. Evaporation is a cooling process, and so it happens a lot quicker when the air is dry, but it takes a lot longer when the air is humid outside. It's kind of like stepping out of the shower on a hot and humid day. You almost sweat immediately afterwards. So that's why we use the heat index. The heat advisory is issued when it's between 104 and 109. An extreme heat warning is issued when the heat index gets to about 110 or above. So we'll be borderline heat advisory levels this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon. Get a little bit of a break from that Friday and Saturday, but by Sunday, it'll feel like 100 plus. And then the air temperature gets close to triple digits as well heading into early next week. That's why NOAA has said we're under what's called an extreme heat risk. And what that means is that it's impactful to most people if you're going to be working outside, and there's little to no relief from the heat at night. We'll show you how close we get to records both during the day and at night all throughout the next week on the WRAL weather app. A little bit later in the summer, we'll be talking about the cumulative effect of many days. No, this is just getting us all at once right now.
So this is just the beginning of what's to come. We're going to have to start getting acclimated to this. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center, and we're about to get a big heat wave a little later.
We are. We're going to have a couple days, and then, as Chris was saying, maybe a day or two of reprieve. But then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to be up near 100 for the actual temperature, not just the heat index. Right now, Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill, lots and lots of sunshine out there. There's been a little bit of a breeze. The winds have been gusting at about 20, 25 miles per hour. And it's a hot breeze, but at least it's stirring things up. And it does help to make it feel a little bit different. We take a look at Futurecast. We're watching the potential for some thunderstorms to develop across the mountains and then move toward us. But watch what happens. This is 5 o'clock. The storms are to our west. And as they try to push into our viewing area, they really just fizzle. So our potential for rain today is negligible at best. But that does change tomorrow. A front back to our west starts to move in. This is going to be a stronger front. It is a WRAL weather alert day for the potential for some wind damage and some heavy rain. That's likely to happen fairly late in the day. We take a look at Futurecast and we'll roll things out. We'll pause it right about 5:30, and you can start to see that line moving in. Again, this is tomorrow at 5 o'clock, so it's not something that affects the evening commute. Now, there are some other models that do move it a little faster than this, but we're feeling this one at least gives a better example of how much rain we may see, which doesn't look like a ton. We're going to see a line coming through potentially between the evening commute and say dinner time, and then by midnight it looks like it all slides southward but starts to fall apart as well, and then we're back to some fairly dry conditions for Friday and Saturday. It is a WRAL weather alert day. We do have a level 2 risk for almost the entire viewing area, and that means that we'll end up with scattered storms. It could produce wind damage. We could also see some heavy rain, but it's not likely to be widespread, and they should be fairly short-lived, whatever we do end up seeing for tomorrow. We take a look at our weather alert day. Again, it's likely to be late in the afternoon into the evening. Some localized wind damage, some flooding possible, and again, that level 2 risk is for most of the viewing area. If you haven't downloaded our updated WRAL weather app, now's a great time to do it ahead of tomorrow. So many neat features here. You can set it to just let you know if rain or lightning are coming toward you, and of course, you can also set it to let you know if there's severe weather headed your way. So check it out. You can also watch our weather forecast there and their radar, a lot of neat tools. So our heat index this afternoon is going to be in the low 100s, could be up to 105 tomorrow. 105 is really about the criteria for the Weather Service to issue a heat advisory. So we'll see if that happens. The rain doesn't come until much later, so we still have time to really turn very hot for tomorrow before rain arrives. After that, slightly cooler, 91 Friday, 94 Saturday. But then starting Sunday, our high temperatures are up near triple digits. We tend to only average one 100-degree day per year. And boy, we have very close to that for about 4 days in a row in our forecast.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Immersive entertainment. Netflix fans will soon have a chance to live it up in homes based on original hits, where the first 2 attractions are set to open.
Here's a look at last night's winning Mega Million number, 16, 23, 39, 46, 55, and the Mega Ball was 12.
Approaching the 1 o'clock hour, and right there, this beautiful look from our WRAL Live Cam network of the DBAP, Durham Bulls Athletic Park, right there and getting the field ready. It looks pretty good right now, but it's very hot for baseball. Boys, it's summer.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. A driver is facing a DWI charge after a BlackBerry truck overturned in Johnston County. This happened on I-95 near Kenly early this morning. Drone 5 was over the scene where you can see the tractor trailer on its side, crews picking up pounds of berries, dumping them into a dump truck. One lane of the highway was shut down for 12 hours while crews worked to clean up the mess and tow the truck. The driver was taken to the hospital with minor injuries.
We're also learning new details about a Durham shooting yesterday. Police tell us a 21-year-old man was shot in the 900 block of Fayetteville Street. Sky 5 flew over Jack's In-N-Out convenience store as police investigated. It happened just after 5 yesterday. That man was taken to the hospital. He is expected to survive. No word on any information about the suspect at this time.
Crews in Fayetteville are working to contain a gas leak. It's all happening on the 1100 block of Robinson Street. The fire department's hazmat team is on site. Nearby businesses have been evacuated out of caution. Now, if you're traveling through or you live in that area, you may smell an odor of gas in the area.
Taking a dip in protest. Swimmers are pushing for Berlin to reopen the famed Spree River to public swimming. The ban was put in place in 1925 due to pollution. About 200 people played in the river's greenish water in an effort to show it is safe. Supporters point to Paris, where the Seine River was open for the Olympic Games. It will be open to Parisians this summer as well. Swimming there had been banned since 1923.
One wrong turn is all it took for an 80-year-old man to get stuck on a famed landmark in Rome. The man told police he was driving to work when he ended up driving down Rome's famed Spanish Steps. Firefighters used a crane to recover his vehicle from the 18th century staircase. Now, the driver was not injured. He was taken to the hospital, though, just to get checked out. The steps are now closed to the public while archaeologists inspect them for damage.
Hope he's all right and the steps are all right. Get ready for an in-person immersive experience courtesy of Netflix. The streaming giant plans to open a Netflix house in 2 locations later this year. Netflix House Philadelphia, located in the King of Prussia area, will feature experiences based on the shows Wednesday and One Piece. Meanwhile, Netflix House Dallas will offer experiences based on popular shows Stranger Things and Squid Game. A third is scheduled to open in Las Vegas on the Strip in 2027.
What an experience that will be for fans of those shows. Yeah. Our pets of the day are a bonded pair from Cat Angel's Pet Adoptions. We begin with Molly here. Molly is a sweet and gentle 5-year-old who adores belly rubs and brushing sessions. She has a calm, affectionate nature. And then next, we have Rusty, a handsome 3-year-old tabby with a charming personality who warms up quickly to new people. He loves lounging in sunny windowsills, getting brushed, soaking up pets, and spending quality time with his best friend, Molly.
They both warm up quickly if they were outside right now.
Yeah, hopefully the two can be taken together as a pair. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You can always get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Find a cool spot out there. Have a great day.
Watching WRAL News over the Spectrum Channel 1257.